Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Rewind Project. We are rewinding all the way to 1976, which now we're officially before I was born. So very exciting
I
for
was
everyone.
5. I was 5 years old.
It's the year I was born.
Okay, so here we are. 1976, also bicentennial of the United States of America. There were celebrations all across the nation, including the famous Tall Ships Parade in New York Harbor. I will
Okay, I have
say,
to say
you go
Go
first,
ahead,
but
Ellie.
I wonder if we have the same thought. No, you go first.
Okay. Well, I will say, as someone who was there, I was only 5. But when I think of the word 1976, that whole year was painted red, white, and blue.
I'm sure.
Everything was bicentennial, bicentennial, bicentennial. And I know we're not a politics podcast, but it just is, it cannot go without comment that this year we're at 250, nobody cares.
It's true.
Yes. So I was going to say something similarly. I also heard about 1976. My father was in the National Guard, and he said he spent July 4th, 1976, basically like in the trees downtown, protecting because it was such a big deal. I was so looking forward to 2026, right? And that was, I mean, obviously many, 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 many other reasons. But one of the large reasons I was disappointed that Trump became president because I knew that the celebration was not going to be the same. And I'm really fucking mad about it.
I'm going to be spending July the 4th this year, I'm sure, with a protest sign in my hand on the highway.
Yeah.
Talking about how mad I am about the state of our nation.
Ooh, can I bunk up at your place for the week, for that weekend?
Absolutely. Yeah, come on down.
Okay. I'd love to do that. Okay. Sorry.
That was not an invitation to the internet, by the way. Matt can come on down.
So yes, I'm with you. Other things that happened: NASA's Viking 1 and 2 successfully landed on Mars, marking humanity's first soft landing on the planet and transmitting the first close-up images of the Martian surface. Have we ever sent anybody back after that?
Just Matt
We
Damon.
sent other rovers.
Right, the rovers. Yeah, and Matt Damon. But I'm more interested. Look, this may be controversial. I'm more interested in Mars than the moon. I said it. There you go.
It's
I am.
further away. We
It's
don't
further
see it with
away.
the naked eye.
It's very red. I don't know. I'm more interested in Mars. There was, okay, am I gonna, hopefully I'm saying this correctly. Soweto? Is it Soweto?
Soweto.
Uprising in South Africa, anti-apartheid protests erupted in the township of Soweto near Johannesburg, sparked by the government's education policies, resulting in widespread violence and deaths. I have a real hole in my history about apartheid, so if anybody listening has any apartheid books that I can read, I'm very interested in learning more about that. Apple Computer and more was founded. Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne officially founded Apple Computer Company on April 1st. Not an April Fool's joke, folks. And
No.
here we are, as I'm staring at my MacBook, my iPad, my iPhone, and I am sucked into all the things Apple. My earpods. One regret I have in my life is I never took a Concorde flight. And Concorde supersonic flights began in 1976. Regular transatlantic passenger service between London or Paris and New York, making supersonic travel available to the public. My grandmother and my grandfather went on one, and I wish that I had the opportunity.
How long did it take to get to London from New York on a Concorde?
I mean, it was like
an hour.
No, it was low, like 3 hours maybe.
Was it? I mean, that's one of those things that I am surprised that some tech giant has not decided that we need again, because they need to be somewhere really fast, and so they haven't created like another supersonic jet.
Yeah, I'm very sad about that.
Although gas prices what they are, God, not even Jeff Bezos could afford that shit.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. And then last news story, Operation Thunderbolt Entebbe raid. Israeli commandos conducted a daring raid on Entebbe Airport in Uganda to rescue hijacked airline passengers, becoming a famous counterterrorism operation. I never heard of this in my life.
I hadn't either, but like it kind of, a lot of these things seem to be like popping up again this year, so I just kind of thought we could throw them in.
Yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same. The tap song is actually, I'm not gonna lie, one of my favorite songs for this period of time, "Silly Love Songs" by Wings.
It's a great song.
It's a great song. I love Wings. I love Wings. There's my truth. There's my truth. I said it. I do. I love Wings. I love Wings
Wow.
maybe sometimes more than the Beatles.
You did not.
A little
You
bit.
did not just say that.
Their songs. I don't know.
Oh.
I mean, I like the Beatles, but I don't know if I love Wings.
This changes everything.
There are definitely some bad Beatles songs.
Well,
Yeah.
sure, but I mean, there are also like many, many, many brilliant
Sure.
Beatles songs.
Yeah. I think it's an
What
interesting.
you're gonna like.
I'll change my tune. I think it's an interesting pivot from Paul McCartney to go from one to the other.
Don't be bullied by him.
The word interesting is doing a lot of work there, but okay.
Yes. Box office champs. In third place, one iteration of Star is Born. This is the one with Barbra Streisand, correct?
Yes.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. 63 million. A surprising number two, a movie that I've only seen at the Air and Space Museum, To Fly, 86.6
Exclamation
million.
point.
To Fly. That's why I said it like that. To Fly.
I have no idea what that movie is.
Have you never seen it at the IMAX? It was the first
No.
IMAX movie I ever saw at the Air and Space Museum.
I have no
It
idea
just
what this
puts
is.
the camera in the airplane and you feel like you're flying when you watch it.
They still play
I
it.
felt
You
like
should
I
go.
did that at Disney World.
Well, yeah. They still play it. It's like you can go watch it today if you wanted to. I mean, you can't, but you could. And then number one is also it's a great movie. I maybe need to watch this again. Rocky. It's made 670 million today, which is crazy.
I think all the sequels of Rocky really like downgraded its place in our pop culture history.
Yeah.
But it just became this vehicle, this franchise, and you can forget how good that first movie really is. And the ending of Rocky, if you don't tell anybody what the ending is and they've never seen it and they watch it, people are genuinely shocked the way that it ends.
I have to make a cathartic confession here. I've never seen Rocky. Never.
Oh,
it's
good. It's good. I mean,
it's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's not life-changing, but Sylvester Stallone everybody in it is excellent. The story is excellent. The grittiness of Philadelphia in 1970 whatever is excellent.
And the reality of boxing is, yes. I mean, it's a good movie. All the sequels just made it, I think, ridiculous. But it's one of those things that you forget how good it is.
Oscar winners of 1977. Well, Rocky had a nice little sweep. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Editing. Omen was the best original score, and the best original song was from A Star is Born, Evergreen.
Best thing about that movie was that song.
And there you have 1976 in a nutshell.
Welcome to the Rewind Project, where Allie, Matt, and Eric take another look at your favorite milestone movies through the lens of our present day. Will it be a skip, rent, or buy? Stay tuned and find out.
Well, welcome back, Rewind fans, and hopefully some new listeners. We are talking about 1976's Network, directed by Sidney Lumet, written by Paddy Chayefsky. So, notable achievements, Oscar wins. There were actually a lot. So, Best Male Actor in a Leading Role for Peter Finch, Best Female Actor in a Leading Role, Faye Dunaway, Best Female Actor in a Supporting Role, Beatrice Straight, and then Best Screenplay written directly for the screen by Paddy Chayefsky. Oscar noms, so things it didn't win, Best Picture, Best Male Actor in a Leading Role for William Holden, Best Male Actor in a Supporting Role for Ned Beatty, Best Director for Sidney Lumet, and then Best Editing and Best Cinematography and Best Film Editing.
That's a lot. Like, regardless of how we all feel about the movie or whatever, which we'll get into, but like, that's like a true crazy sweep.
Yes, this was a tour de force at the Oscars. I mean, to be nominated for all of that. And then Best Golden Globes wins, Best Director, Sidney Lumet. So he did win at the Golden Globes. Best Male Actor in a Motion Picture, Peter Finch again. Best Female Actor in a Motion Picture, Faye Dunaway. And Best Screenplay, Motion Picture, Paddy Chayefsky. Golden Globe noms, Best Motion Picture Drama. Plot: a poorly performing broadcast television network is purchased by a non-media company and forced to improve ratings and market share by any means available.
You know what I find interesting is that I don't know if y'all watch the morning show. It's the worst show on television, but it's highly entertaining. It's like a soap opera now, but their fake broadcast network is UBN. So this was
Is it really?
UBS. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
UBN, Universal Broadcast Network. And so I had a laugh every time they talked about UBS because I was like, you won't know, but in 50 years, there'll be another show with that fake sort of title.
Yes, and Billy Crudup will have Ned Beatty's job. Not Ned
Correct.
Beatty, Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
So let's get into the cast. Faye Dunaway as Diane Christensen. So this was her Oscar-winning performance before Mommy Dearest.
Real high highs and real low lows here at the Rewind Project.
Yes. I'm actually happy we're discussing this right after we talked
I
about
am too,
Mommy
actually.
Dearest,
I am
because
too.
Faye Dunaway was not a terrible actress. I think she will, unfortunately, Mommy Dearest will have an outsized influence on her legacy. But she actually could deliver I don't think this is her best. I would probably say Bonnie and Clyde maybe is the thing that she did that was just unbelievable. But she's very good in this.
Well, okay, so I think overall in the movie, this is that transition era to me still, or they're still in it. And it might partly be because of the writer of the movie did a lot of plays as well, that it felt like a lot of theater acting, not screen acting. You know what I mean? Because today I feel like a lot of performances are far more subtle, whereas I feel like a lot of movies, as we were progressing from talkies all the way up, still we're evolving from stage acting, which is generally over the top, because there were definitely some Mommy Dearest moments for her in this, but I think that is partly because of that transition. And I think this movie is still going through it, and it might be because of the writer for the movie.
Well, I think Faye Dunaway is a balls to the wall actor no matter what. I think Sidney Lumet is a much better director than that Frank Perry who directed Mommy Dearest.
Absolutely.
And I would imagine that there were some takes where he said, Faye, maybe take it down 3 notches and let's try it again. And they ended up with those. I mean, no one slams a phone down like Faye Dunaway. I mean, that's some drama. So yeah, I see where you're going, but I think she was balls to the wall no matter what. But I think she needed a director to hold her back, and I think he probably did it, and the other guy was a waste of space.
Well, and a better story too, right? A better script, a better meaning,
Yes.
not just because that's the thing about somebody like that, and I can sometimes be a little over the top too in my acting, but when you're given something like Mommy Dearest, where it is just pure camp and pure nothingness and pure,
although
shoot
they
the
all thought it was
scenery.
Oscar bait when they were making it. I mean,
yes,
that's
sure.
that's the thing about Mommy Dearest. It's totally unintentional camp. I will say one of the things about this movie, and I'll talk about it while we're discussing Faye Dunaway because she has a lot to do with it. On my third viewing of this film, I started to notice things about it that I was like, I didn't love. And one of them has to do with her, but it's a larger thing. Sometimes she's a cartoon, and sometimes there are scenes where you want people to feel something real. And the real moments didn't always work. The scene where she's breaking up with Max and their romance is ending, I didn't feel a thing, because this is a woman who could only have an orgasm when she was talking about market share. I mean, there are moments of such high satire, and I kind of wish Paddy Chayefsky had just stuck with that because it was working and not tried to do, so her performance and a lot of these performances kind of went back and forth for me because some of the scenes really worked and some of them just fell flat because we were already living in dystopian cartoon land.
I mean, there was just so much shouting. The whole movie. I got very confused. I could not tell all the old white men apart. It took me a long time.
There were a lot.
I had to look up who was this old white man with the white hair versus this old man with the no hair. And obviously I know who Robert Duvall is, and so he was sort of like my true north. But just so much shouting and the spit and it's just like, I get it, and I would be angry too, and I am angry, but I don't know. I think they overplayed. Like kind of what you said, Eric. I think they overplayed their hand in some of these scenes. And also, I did not buy that romance for one hot, tiny minute at all. And like, maybe she was doing it to quote unquote advance her career, but then he got fired. So what are you advancing? Did not buy it. I did not buy that he would like, I did buy that he would leave his wife for her because, she's young and, on the go and whatever. But that whole breakup scene was so dumb. I was like fully checked out at that point.
The romance was the least interesting part for me, even though I know why they put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you could have written the movie differently, so you didn't need it. I would have skipped it. They could have been working together and found a different way to build that relationship, and for him to talk about her, because I think he represented the old world, old media, and she represents change and like where we are going. And that's why I feel like she is far more cartoonish, because even he talks about her, she already has these characters that everybody has to fit into, and they have to have these stories, and this is the plots that are going to happen, as if life has just already been written out, and life has to be a serialized television show for everyone now, because we are just life is the television tube, and he represents the time before that. But I don't feel like we didn't have to have this torrid affair that he is okay with leaving and he's still fine with, because he is old world, and it is, they survive and march on, and the new world doesn't know how to cope with anything, is what it kind of felt like.
See, it's funny, as we're talking about this breakup scene, I'm reminded of the breakup scene in Mommy Dearest, where Greg, the lawyer, leaves Joan Crawford. And that one was almost better, and that would have worked well here if he just refused to follow her script.
Yes.
If she'd been set up as someone who everything has to be, and she's like, okay, now we're in breakup scene mode, so I'm going to do this. And he just says, you know what, just stop. It's over. Like, we're done. And just walked. It could have been much shorter and actually much more effective.
Yeah.
And I kind of bought that, yeah, she got together with him because it was good for her career, but I think she kept him around because he worshipped her in his weird obsessive way, and everyone likes to be worshipped. And two, even if he's fired, he could still be a mentor of sorts because he knows the industry and that's her whole life. But yeah.
Well, and since we've already started talking about Max, so William Holden as Max Schumacher.
So William Holden, in 1955, he made this movie called Picnic. Have you seen Picnic?
No.
So you'd think Picnic would be this like light romp or maybe even a musical based on the name. It is not. It is like it's a drama about a bad boy who comes into town and a good girl who is inexplicably drawn to him and she shouldn't be. And all the posters for Picnic, if you look at it, he gets into a fight at this big Labor Day picnic. And his shirt gets all torn up, but every single poster is, of course, it's 1955, so they're all paintings of William Holden with a shirt that's barely there and his bare chest just all over. He was hot. Paul Newman in Picnic played the safe choice that the good girl should have gone off with, but she was too obsessed with William Holden. If that gives you any idea of how hot William Holden was.
Okay, I'm listening.
So it's so weird to see him in this because it's 20 years on. We talk a lot about how women age in the movies very differently now than they did then. I mean, we were just talking about Jennifer Aniston. She's older now than both Joan Crawford and Bette Davis were when they made Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Wow. So that's just a little,
But she doesn't look like she's aged at all.
But William Holden, as a man, men were also aging differently then. I mean, men in their 60s now, George Clooney, Robert Downey Jr. are in their 60s. That's very different from, what we're seeing here. And William Holden might have just been in his 50s. People just age differently. And he was this middle-aged man. And yes, this kind of craggy guy. And it's like, why are you with Faye Dunaway? But I think that it's important to remember in 1976, when people were watching this, William Holden was a hot piece of beefcake in everybody's memory. And so I think that sex appeal was probably still kind of there because he was just known for dripping sex everywhere he went. He was a hot guy.
That did not come across for me.
Not at all.
And it wouldn't
I
because of how he, but just know that's his legacy. And in 1976, everyone would remember what he was. And you can still find people who are into like all that kind of old movie beefcake stuff. There are so many shirtless pictures of William Holden as a young man at the gym, at the beach, by the pool, blah, blah, blah. He was just this stud muffin, Brad Pitt kind of person.
Well, for me, watching this movie, since I don't know that, I did like him as the voice of, I don't want to say reason, but like the voice of the old world during the transition to the new, I mean, the old media and the transition to the new media. He did have a lot of gravitas on stage or on screen. For me, just bringing that calm demeanor to every scene that he was pretty much in. Because even in the scenes with Faye Dunaway when they were arguing or something, and it's basically the way that it was written, but it seemed more logical that he just was unemotional about all of it. Like he was either not necessarily over it, but like viewing it and understanding it and rationalizing it and just kind of seeing it for what it was or what he felt it was. And I felt it was believable. I liked Max throughout the movie. I didn't really like the affair. I was upset by that. But I mean, overall, I kind of got his character and I understood his role throughout the film.
Well, it used to be that news divisions were never expected to turn a profit.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing a service. And so his thing was, give me the, whatever budget you can. We're not going to make it back, but we'll deliver the news. And that's all he really cared about. And, this whole movie is built around, but we could make money. But what do we have to do to make money?
Well, and then we've seen what's happened with that.
Then, yes. And that's the world we're living in 2026. And so that's why this movie is so prescient when you kind of look back and go, there was a time when no one expected news to make any money. And one guy, Paddy Chayefsky, said, but what if, and went on this whole thing. And what's weird about it is that we're now living it.
Yeah. And we could probably thank Ted Turner for this too.
Totally.
Since we're talking about the change in the media and what would happen, let's talk about Peter Finch as Howard Beale. I liked Howard.
I liked Howard too, but one of the things about the screenplay that if I had the chance to give Paddy some notes, as if I should ever give Paddy Chayefsky notes, but he's a legend, whatever. I want to know a little bit more about Howard. Like Howard, we really just kind of saw him on air and then getting fired. We never really we went home with Max. We never went home with Howard. And I just wanted to see a little bit more about because I have this story in his mind, like maybe he was married, but his wife died like a couple years ago and he's just been dealing with grief, but like toxic masculinity, doesn't have any outlet, eventually has a breakdown. And that's where where did that breakdown come from? And I don't think Paddy Chayefsky cares, to be honest. He's just like, what if an insane person ended up on TV and he didn't matter to him how he got there. But
drop into a moment.
I wanted to know a little bit more about Howard. That's all I'll say.
Well, you're probably right about that because we're expected to believe very quickly that news broadcasting is Howard's life. That is how he identifies himself, and that's where that breakdown comes from. Is when when he's fired and there's nothing left. For him. But
it would have been just some context would have been helpful.
I agree. I found it interesting that really Max was the sort of center point for everybody, right? He was involved with Diana. He was asked to stay on by Hackett. He was Howard Beale's best friend. He's the one, as you said, Eric, we go home with. I thought that was interesting because if you haven't seen the movie, which I hadn't before watching it for this, you would think that Howard Beale is the really kind of the linchpin of the story, but it really was Max as the one kind of bringing everybody together, which I think is interesting.
But Howard Beale is a much showier part, obviously. Of course. He gets whole, yes, he gets to have the breakdown and,
literally a breakdown every night.
Yes, the one thing that we still hear about from this movie is if you know nothing else about it, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. That's the thing that everyone comes away with, yeah.
I had no idea that's where this came from.
Really?
That's idea. Funny. I did know that, but I didn't realize it was like a catchphrase and then they would be saying it nonstop the entire rest of the movie. That I didn't know.
But now you can say it with authority.
But now I can say with us, you know what? Let me take that monologue as my next audition monologue. That Howard Beale. Okay.
It's I did love Howard's tirades. Like there was something about them that were kind of mesmerizing for me. And I leaned into them like every single time that he would come out on on screen for them. After I found out the background of the person that wrote the actual screenplay, it's obvious because this felt in a lot of respects more like a stage play, and I could see this as a stage play in some respects when you listen to his tirades. They're very eloquent, even though they're kind of weird, and they seem like it would be something that you would hear on stage as opposed to inside the movies.
Mm-hmm. And I tell you, my favorite tirade of his was actually the one before Mad as Hell. It was the whole I have no more space for bullshit. That whole bullshit speech.
Yes.
I thought was fantastic. And so it was a lovely kind of slow burn into complete insanity.
Yeah.
You know, because the very first thing that got everyone's mind was, hello, this is Howard Beale. I'm going to kill myself next Tuesday.
Right. Which, you know, a little prescient on that note.
Yep.
But it also made, you know, I was a journalism major. I don't know if anybody knows. I was a broadcast journalism major in college. And so kind of surprising I had not seen this movie. We watched broadcast news as part of our curriculum, but we did not watch this. So what I found interesting is that there was a famous, I think was he a district attorney or a county attorney that did actually shoot himself live on you know, it's very famous if you know sort of the history of broadcast journalism. It was sometime in the late 80s. He had a press conference and he shot, you know, basically shot himself on camera at this press conference.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so when he was saying that, I could see that happening, right? I mean, this was afterwards, but it didn't strike me. I actually thought that's maybe where the movie was going to go, where he did kind of shoot himself on air, you know, as a statement, as a political statement, as whatever. So they did a little bait and switch, which I wasn't mad at. I thought that was kind of clever because it kind of zigged when you thought it was going to zag at the end.
Well, that was one of the other things I really enjoyed about this movie is that it was not the movie I was expecting. Like, I just thought it was going to be basically about
shenanigans at the evening news.
Yeah, right. Murphy Brown.
No, I thought it was going to be about, like, you know, letting women into broadcast news and her taking over as an anchor and sexism and stuff like that is what I thought this movie was going to be about. And it's not what it was about.
No, sure isn't.
And it's interesting in some respects. I mean, they didn't necessarily treat women well, but at the same time, she had a lot of power. And so very early on, and everybody kind of accepted that she had power. So I was kind of surprised by that too. And it was not the movie that I thought I was going to be watching. So it really shocked me. And I ended up enjoying the movie more because it's not what I had expected. Moving on, Robert Duvall as Frank Hackett.
Team Duvall forever.
I love Robert Duvall so much.
So
always
good.
So much. I just finished Lonesome Dove, the book. Excellent. Fucking A+. So good. So I started watching the miniseries and he's in that too. So I'm in my Robert Duvall era, I guess you could say.
Yeah, he can't really do wrong on screen. Although I felt like this was kind of a smaller part for him.
And it was weird with him as the bad guy. You know, I mean, in The Godfather, he's kind of this moral center. And here he was the opposite. Like he was just profit, profit, profit. I don't care about anything else. What a dick. But Robert Duvall, always so great.
What do we do next? Well, we should probably kill him. Well, how are we going to do that? So it's like, didn't even question, should we do that? It's like, well, how are we going to get away with that?
Very pragmatic.
And the one guy that you thought maybe would be like, he's like, the network can't be involved in this. Not saying that you shouldn't do it.
Right. Wink, wink. Wink, wink.
This conversation never happened.
Right.
And definitely not in the company building.
Yeah.
He played a really good bad guy. I just wish we had more of him on screen and he had more character to chew. I kind of would be my thing with that. Next up is Beatrice Straight as Louise Schumacher, who was on screen for like all of 5 minutes and
She won
ended
an
up getting an
Oscar.
Oscar.
She won an.
Yes,
I
she
mean,
did.
come on. Like she was
Listen,
fine.
if Judi Dench can do it for her little stint in Shakespeare in Love as Queen Elizabeth with like 2 scenes, one at the very beginning, one at the very
I mean, I
end,
have thoughts about that too, but we're not talking
because
about
she's
that.
Judi freaking Dench. I mean, I've often wondered if there should be a non-gendered category at the Oscars for cameo roles, basically,
Mhm.
for tiny, tiny parts. And maybe you even get a tiny, tiny Oscar the way that they used to give you, like, the juvenile Oscars were always, like, these little
Or like a
shrunken.
Lego Oscar. My thing is not the length of her role. My length it just was a fine part. It wasn't anything special to me.
Oh,
It
see, I would
had no
disagree with
blip
that.
for me.
Her 5 minutes, I thought were brilliant because it
Mm.
starts off, I mean, she goes through all 7 stages of grief in a 5-minute scene, and where she just explodes in rage in the middle of it, and yet she made it work. Like, for some reason, she connected all the dots for me, where she begins calm and she ends calm and has this explosion halfway through, and I just thought as an actor, that is really hard to do without seeming bipolar in such a short scene, and I believed every second of it. Um, obviously, if they only gave out Oscars for leading roles, we could never give somebody an Oscar for a role that short. But as a scene, it's a lovely little short film for me. I mean, I thought she was brilliant. It's a little shocking that she won an Oscar for something that, that little blip in a 2-hour movie, but she was great, I thought.
Well, you also, in that 5 minutes, you also believe that they have been married for like 30 years. And
Absolutely.
that, like, it was so natural and believable. And you almost want resolution and justice for Louise later on in the movie.
And she was never a cartoon, so it
Mhm.
worked. Like, in that scene, I was totally invested and bought in, and I went on the whole journey with her. When Max was breaking up with Diana later on, didn't feel a thing, because Diana had been so cartoonish at many times throughout that whole thing, and it just lost me. So, Patty knows how to write both. I just wish he picked one and made it more
Yeah.
powerful as that's my one little criticism.
I think he purposely wrote them the way that he wrote them. Like, even though he can do both, I think he wanted Diane to be far more cartoonish because I think he was saying that where we are heading is kind of a shadow of where we are right now.
Sure, but did he want me to feel for Max at the end? Because I didn't.
No.
I think he did, because that was a long scene. That was a long scene, and I think he wanted me to feel something. I felt bored, is what I felt. And I'm sure he didn't want that. And again, it could have just been shorter and that would have been better, but there were moments where it's like he's trying to pull some human emotion out, and it's like, no, you've written these cartoons. I mean, I say that not as a criticism, because it's high satire and brilliantly done. I just think he could have stayed there.
Okay, next up is Ned Beatty as Arthur Jensen.
Love Ned Beatty.
I don't know who won his Oscar, but he should have won it.
Yeah, he was good too.
Absolutely. And that's probably a role about the same size as Beatrice
Yeah,
Straight.
it was not on screen very
But
long.
that monologue to Howard with the dark room with all the lamps, first of all, brilliantly shot.
Mhm.
I mean, whoever designed that scene, brilliant. But Ned Beatty, gosh, so good.
And Peter Finch as Howard Beale at the other scene, as they're going back and forth and you're listening to him and you see the look on Peter's face or on Howard's face as it's kind of sinking in, and it's almost like a new vision of what he had seen while he was sleeping. I
Yep.
understand why he changed later. It was a very powerful moment. Honestly, I kind of feel like what a lot of today would be billionaires kind of see how they see themselves.
Yeah, political borders mean nothing to them. It's all about the dollar.
Yeah, and that's why this movie, to me, as I'm watching it, was like, wow, we were talking about this in 1976, and it is, to me, not satire, it was prophetic. Like, we pretty much ended up, maybe not to the extremes on television, although you could argue in some respects, yes. And we can
Well,
talk
the only
about
thing
that
Paddy
later.
Chayefsky didn't predict was TikTok.
Yeah.
because
Well,
the crazy
yeah.
is definitely out there in the media. It's just he didn't predict social media,
Or
but if he
24-hour
had,
news.
it's 100% there.
But I think 24-hour news is pretty much Howard Beale now. I think that in both sides, you get people that is more about their opinion telling people what to do or
Oh,
what
for
to think
sure.
instead of
Yeah.
providing facts, which is what news is supposed to do.
But it just didn't happen.
I mean, we haven't quite gone to Sybil the soothsayer on CNN.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah. Well, yet.
I mean, but on TikTok, yes, I'm sure we probably have somebody with a zodiac chart who's telling you what the news will be tomorrow. I'm sure that exists today.
I wanted to add in Marlene Warfield as Lauren Hobbs. So she was the communist leader.
So good. God, I loved her.
She was great. Well, because it was like the combination of, you know, the savviness of distribution plus revolutionary plus,
At the
I
end, she was talking just like an executive at the network. That's
correct.
what I love. That last scene
Don't
is like, I
fuck with
can't
my
follow him.
distribution.
Don't fuck with my distribution. God, is so. I mean, her little arc is the movie in, if you just take her scenes and splice them together, that's all of Network in 10 minutes. So
Mhm.
good. So good. And whoever Marlene Warfield is, I don't know that I've seen her in anything else.
No.
Brilliantly done. And what a great performance. God.
The command and presence on screen too was amazing. Because even in every single boardroom meeting too that she had with him, she was in charge of every single one of those meetings.
And they were all fucking scared of her. And I love the fact that the first time we saw her, she's very calm. She's on that like Charlie Rose-ish kind of, interview special. And she's very calm, and we got to meet her there and then see her go ballistic later. It was so great.
And then lastly, I had to add in an honorable mention for Conchata Ferrell as Barbara Schlesinger.
It was so great to see her.
It was such a surprise. From 2.5 Men. Because I know I've seen her as a character
Oh,
actress in a
that's who
bunch of
that
things.
was. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, see, now I know her from ER, the sitcom. The Elliot Gould sitcom called ER, before ER was a medical drama starring George Clooney. Like 2 seasons before, Elliot Gould had a sitcom called ER, and Conchata Ferrell was the head nurse on that show. She was hilarious.
She was great. I wish we had a little bit more of her in the movie.
Her reading all those specs, yeah. Cranky yet benign account executive.
So it's so surprising just to see her young again. That was wild. As we were watching this movie, I mean, I realized it was a satire, and you've already heard me say it. Was it a satire though, or is it just prophetic? Like that's the thing that got me about this movie, is that I think at the time it might have been satire, but like in so many respects, a lot of these things came to a pass. The attention economy as prophecy is just kind of wild for me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think you hit it. It was satire at the time, and it all came true. Like, we did not listen to Paddy when he was talking.
Network essentially invented the critique that, would define our era. Howard Beale is monetized the moment his breakdown goes viral, which, I mean, the network itself kind of created. I mean, it was a really bad way for Max to give it to him. Generally, you just shut him off. Like, I don't know why they would put him back on screen.
That was
after
weird
they told
too.
him.
Yeah.
Well, but again, if we knew more about Howard, that might have made more sense. They'd been friends for decades.
Best friends, apparently.
Yes, and Max saw Howard go a little nuts once on TV, and he said, now, let me back on. Now, again, I wondered why don't you pre-record a goodbye tape and we'll play it on the news?
Right.
That would have solved the problem. But they didn't do it. They put him on air live, but I was like, they trust him. And Max left him on because he thought he was being betrayed. And so he thought, what the hell? Fuck you all. Let's just, so he was kind of in a pissy mood at that moment. So I think that's how they kind of explain it. But you're right. I mean, once Diana gets involved and it's like, look, he's on the cover of the newspaper. This is publicity we cannot buy. Let's take advantage of it. Then it all goes to hell.
Well, and it's all for the likes. I mean, all for the subscribes, because it's well, and in that day it was ratings essentially, but like because they were looking for 40 points, and she got him there because they kept pushing him not to deliver necessarily news, to make people angry because that's what they already
Mhm.
were, and to say that it was okay. And I kind of feel like a lot of our news today is about that. It is sensationalistic. Regardless of whether you're trying to make people angry, you're trying to make people scared so they'll watch. It's always, and the three things that you shouldn't be eating that are already inside your house, watch it sell. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, well, and I think too, they only what 4 channels back then, 5 channels back then. So now you've got
We had
1,000,000.
3.
We had
3,
3.
right? Well,
I mean, this is before
And
even Fox.
PBS.
So they invented UBS to be the fictional one alongside the other 3. But no, in 1976 there were absolutely only 3
right.
channels.
So now there's 500 plus, the internet, and so of course they're going to make it as sensationalist as possible because again, it's all about market share, eyes, so what is going to get people to distinguish you from the 9,000 other news channels. I mean, I go to my parents' house and they have like every channel, on their plan known to man, and there's, I don't know, 10 different news channels, just news channels alone, standalone news channels. There's at least 10 of them, so how are you gonna get the loyalty when people are so divided, especially now?
Well, and it's interesting. The thing that came right after Network on television was Roots. And Roots came out in 1977. And the thing about Roots is that the entire country watched Roots. We cannot put anything on TV now that the
No.
majority of
No.
Americans will watch and have a
Yeah.
national conversation about. I mean, it just doesn't happen. We're way too fractured. So that's also a little bit about where we were when we made this movie.
And part of the problem with that is that nobody watches within the same time because of the way the internet has disrupted distribution
Mhm.
of entertainment and even the news. I mean, there is no way to be breaking without being the first on whatever platform there is to get it out there.
The last time I experienced appointment television was Game of Thrones, only because I had coworkers that would talk about it on Monday morning, and if I hadn't seen it, I was going to get spoiled.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the last time. And that was a while ago.
I mean, the last real appointment television that I can remember, and yes, there's been some series like that, is the end of the first season of Survivor. Like I remember full on bars, parties. I went to a bar to watch it with a bunch of friends, and that was a long time ago now at this point. So
Really long. What are they on their 75th season?
they just celebrated their 50th actually. So not too
Oh,
far.
God.
I don't watch
Oh,
it anymore,
God.
but yeah.
The other thing that was kind of scary about this, and we've talked about in other movies, is corporate consolidation, and then corporate consolidation of truth, specifically in this movie, where the companies now control the control the networks, and they can control what's being broadcast. We've actually seen this recently, in my opinion, with Skydance buying CBS and like the consolidation of all of those networks. I mean, it's very concerning that, we already kicked off Stephen Colbert. They didn't like the jokes that he was making. They've tried to kick off Jimmy Kimmel, and this is all corporate kowtowing now to a political entity. And I don't necessarily want to get political, but I mean, it's very obvious that that's happening, but because it hurts their money, that they want to get rid of this. So it's actually a censorship and a control of what's actually being said on the airways. In different respects, we saw this conglomerations controlling the world to a more extreme and actually Judge Dredd. So, the world had now become mega cities that were actually just corporations, essentially. And you had to live within one mega city. You see this in several different, dystopians in the future. That's why as we were watching this was like watching the beginning of this dystopian future. Like even to the point where I kind of thought about like RoboCop in, you watch the TV that they're watching, and it's all those game shows that are kind of similar.
Running
to
Man too.
Running
Yeah.
Man, yes. And so it makes me wonder again: is this going to be prophecy, or instead of satire as we move forward? Are we actually just heading towards this?
Oh, no, we're living it. We're living it. But here's the thing is that, when Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air abruptly, I called the Disney Plus Hulu people and said, "Hi, I'm calling to cancel my subscription effective immediately." And on the phone, I was so happy when the person said, "Can I ask why?" And I said, "This is in direct reaction to Jimmy Kimmel being fired.
Mhm.
Write that down." And he said, "Well, just know that we don't have anything to do." I said, "Write it down on your little list, whatever you're doing."
Right.
And you know what? I was not alone. Enough people did that. He was back on the air by the next week. It's the one thing about, I'm not here to defend capitalism, God knows. But, the dollars come from somewhere. There's this whole new way that the masses, if you will, need to respond to these things by saying, "You're not getting our money if you're doing this," and finding not only not watching CBS, but who owns CBS. Like, go to Skydance
Mhm.
and figure out how not to give any of your money to them if you can. But sometimes people are so, their fingers are in so many pies, it's almost impossible not to support them just because they own fucking everything. It's getting ridiculous.
One other thing I wanted to talk about was the outgoing versus the incoming generation. I saw a lot of myself in Max because as I've gotten older, I have fallen into that old man trap where like these young kids, and like as he described, the TV generation, which actually would have been my generation even more than Diane's generation, but as he described them and what he was seeing in them or what he thought he was seeing in them, I kind of feel like we're falling into that today as well. I don't know. Did you guys get a sense of that too as you were watching the movie, or no?
Well, I was thinking a lot about YouTube and TikTok and social media as I was watching this, going, "Oh my God, Patty, you have no idea what's, I mean, he had every idea in a lot of
Mhm.
ways, as you say, very prophetic, but there were just things about the media landscape that he did not foresee that I
Mhm.
think have also made all of these problems 10 times worse.
So it's more of the media than as a generational us watching the younger generation come in and just be get off my lawn kind of thing because
Well, but
things
it's
are
both.
changing.
It's both. I mean, I was not raised by YouTube, but there are many young adults now who absolutely were.
Mhm.
And, it makes a difference.
That makes me feel a little bit better that it's not me. It's actual social media is the problem.
Social media is also wonderful. I tell this story all the time about a woman that I went to high school with that I would never have remained in touch with if it wasn't for Facebook. And she
Mhm.
wrote to me maybe 5 years ago and said, "Eric, I know this seems really weird," but she sent me a DM and I'm like, she was a cheerleader. I was not in her social circle in high school. But she was like, "You're the only person I can think of to talk to about this." And I was like, "Oh my God." And she was like, "My son just came out to me. What do I do?"
Mm.
And we had a lovely
Mhm.
conversation. And I was like, "You know what? Thank you, Meta." Like, I hate, Mark Zuckerberg's a pig, but at the same time, social media does a lot of good in the world. Grassroots movements are, no kings never would have happened without the internet as we know it. Um, we can mobilize, we can communicate, we can get stories out that the media is not going to. Social media can do a lot of good, but I don't think we can argue social media can do a lot of damage. And we haven't quite gotten our hands around the power of it yet.
Well, it seems though, and if the movie is true, that a lot of the bad effects are coming from social media being weaponized through capitalism because companies are
Mhm.
trying to use it to make enormous profits. Once you start to add money and profit into that, that becomes more important than the social goods and benefits that it could provide if we made less profits instead of all the profits. You know what I
And
mean?
we still have this mentality that, like, "Oh, I saw it on the news, it must be true." But now it's like, I've seen it on my Facebook profile a million times, it has to be true. And it's like, well, that's because the algorithm is feeding you what you like and hiding from
Mhm.
you what you don't like. You have no idea everything that's out there. Again, it's the stories we're not getting
Yeah.
that are warping our sense of reality.
Hmm.
Are you guys ready for some fun facts?
Please.
Sure.
Peter Finch was so desperate to play Howard Beale after he read the script, he offered to pay all of his flights and stuff to go and read for the show for the actual part. Sidney Lumet was concerned about him because of his Australian accent, though. And I found that hilarious because so many actors today, like I find out later that they're either British or Australian. I had no idea
Yeah.
that's what they were.
I didn't know. I wouldn't have known Peter Finch was Australian. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't
he was
either.
great. He was great.
Based on this, absolutely not.
Yeah, no.
Beatrice Straight was only on screen for 5 minutes and 2 seconds. She still owns the record for briefest performance to ever win an Oscar. I thought that was crazy. And that was a great scene.
5 minutes is nothing.
Did you look up how long Judi Dench was in Shakespeare in Love?
9
Was it
minutes.
9 minutes. Okay.
She was 9 minutes. Yep, Beatrice still owns it.
Wow.
All right.
It is game time.
Woohoo!
So, like Disney, we've run out of ideas and we're going to remake a classic. Let's recast the movie and make any changes you like to modernize or tweak the story. Okay, so I want you to cast Diana, Max, and Howard, and any additional supporting characters you think you need. Select a director, and then just tell us how you're going to change or improve the movie if you are. Maybe you love this movie so much you would just let it go as is, like the quote-unquote live-action Lion King from the animated.
Listeners, I just want you to know that Allie's making a face right now. I just need you to understand.
I didn't even realize I was doing that, so that was an unconscious face. So,
Allie, you did the cold open, so Eric, you go first.
Okay. So I'm going to start by talking about my director because that absolutely influenced my cast. I'm going to ask George Clooney to direct this. I think after Good Night and Good Luck, he's got some thoughts about journalism, and I think I could appreciate where he was going with that. Of course, if George Clooney was directing, I'm sure he would cast himself as Max. Of course he would.
That's a good Max.
That is a good Max.
So I think, that just made sense. So George Clooney would be Max, kind of holding the whole thing together. Howard, I went back and forth. I actually cast somebody else. And if anybody repeats this, I'll chime in and let you know. But as I was thinking about where I'd want the network of 2026 to go, have any of you ever seen a little movie called Bob Roberts?
No.
Written, directed, and starring Tim Robbins as an alt-right-wing folk singer. Let me say that again. An alt-right-wing folk singer running for Senate. And the songs are hilarious, and you can't find them anywhere. He did a very good job of saying, I don't want people to repeat these out of context because they're evil. But watch Bob Roberts. Anyway, Howard Beale is kind of going to be Bob Roberts all grown up. And so Tim Robbins is going to be my Howard Beale, who goes nuts. And then as Diana, I just needed a much younger, because I think there has to be an age gap.
Agreed.
Much younger, kind of icy actress. And I've seen her do a lot of things, and I think she's just very talented. And I've used her she's kind of one of my go-tos for these Rewind Project games. But I've cast Anya Taylor-Joy as Diana, young girl with those Bette Davis eyes. I did do one additional casting because I wanted Louise, the Beatrice Straight role. And I thought I wanted it to be a peer of George Clooney age-wise, but no one who is, because, George Clooney would probably want Julia Roberts because they're such good friends and they do a lot together. But I think Julia is a little too glamorous at this point. I'm going to put Frances McDormand in there as
that's good.
Louise.
That's good.
Because she looks great, and I feel like is very clear that she is not going to go under the knife, and she looks her age, and I thought she's earthy, and she would play that calm to rage to calm scene so brilliantly. This is going to be written. I was actually inspired by, I'm watching the 5th season of Hacks right now, and the most surprising, hilarious cameo I've ever seen. Tony Kushner is playing himself in Hacks.
So random.
As someone that Deborah Vance hired to write her memoir, and he wants to go all the way back to her great-grandfather in Scotland. It was so funny. But I was like, you know what? I want someone with a political edge to write this movie. I know he usually writes screenplays for Steven Spielberg, but I'm going to ask him to write one for George Clooney, and he will write the updated screenplay for Network. And really the only change is it's going to take place today. So now what are we dealing with? We're dealing with the death of journalism and a whole lot of people who are clueless, just completely opinionating, having these platforms all over social media. And so how does network news compete with that? And I'm just going to say, Tony, go wild. See what you come up with. And if it's good for George, it's good for me. Let's produce this fucker. Let's get on with it. So that's my remake of Network.
I like it. Allie?
I'm ready. Okay. So I went in a little bit of a different direction. So I was really stuck as I was watching this movie on the fact that, you know, they turned Howard into a prophet. And if you notice towards the end, they really pushed the like preacher side of it. They had the stained glass and and that was really very interesting to me because I've always been kind of obsessed with stories about preachers, and I love the movie. I love the Steve Martin movie Leap of Faith. It's a real deep cut, but I'm fascinated by those kinds of things, those kinds of, you know,
Yeah.
showiness. Again, maybe that's because it's not my religion, and so it's, you know, more interesting to me. Anyway, so the way that I did it is that it's going to be the network picking an actual preacher that they find and bringing him to the
Ooh.
network. And you know, he's out for the cash. He wants the cash, and he, you know, he's like he doesn't have a mega church, but it's kind of that same sort of personality, right? Where you realize that they're kind of all about the money, they want the fame, they want the glory. You know, you can think of all the mega church people, you know, pastors that you want. You know, going all the way back to not Jerry Lewis, with his
Falwell?
brother, his cousin, Jerry Falwell. Thank you. It was a Jerry. Anyway, so, you know, it's been a long, it's, you know, people have done this for a long time. So there's always been a lot of grift. So my preacher is going to be played by Mahershala Ali, because
Ooh.
he's really done some in a minute, and I think that he has that sort of, you know, he's got the charm, the good looks, but also he can play that sort of like rotten character in the end. And so mine is going to be less of an approach of like, I'm so mad I can't take it anymore, like I'm done, but more of a grifting type, because I feel like in this day and age that is what happens, is there's a lot of grift
Yes.
these days.
Yeah.
So so he will be my Howard, so Reverend Howard, if you will. My Diana, I kind of went along the same lines. Actually, Eric, I thought you were going to say the same person as I did, but kind of along the same lines as you. Again, I definitely wanted to see an age difference. So Amanda Seyfried is my Diana. So kind of, you know, same ilk as Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yep.
My Max, I don't know, this just sort of popped into the last two just sort of popped into my head because I think that they would have a lot of fun on this movie. My Max is going to be Bradley Whitfield, because
great.
right,
Okay.
like I think that he's got the gravitas, he's got the kind of like winky charm, and then I did want to cast a Hackett because I do love Robert Duvall and I do like that character. So my Hackett is going to be Ray Fiennes. Again, kind of a different take, but I think that he could do that part justice, and he does love to play a villain, and a different kind of villain than some of the other ones he's played. And this is going to be directed by somebody. One of the things is I really obviously wanted to get rid of the whole kind of race stuff that they mentioned in 1976. Like, we're not going to do any of that nonsense. But it was important to me to have a person of color in the lead role and also as the director. So somebody who hasn't actually done something for a minute, Ava DuVernay will be my director. And I think she will bring sort of that, she has that kind of sensibility around race and class and, you know, all the things that kind of are tackled in the movie. So that's my redo, network redo.
I like it. I went a completely different route too. I'd like all three of us came up with very different ideas.
I love when that happens.
In my story, what ends up happening is you've got a large scale company, because I love the corporatization of this was the big idea, and the consolidation. So you have a tech company that has bought a media company and has now bought a third tier social media company. So the head of broadcasting for that company is going to be Don Cheadle. So he's going to be my Bax. Okay, I like Don Cheadle on screen. He's very calming. He brings some gravitas to the screen. And then the head of the social media company is going to be much younger. That's going to be Keke Palmer. I loved her in Nope. That movie great. And her performance is amazing. And what's going to end up happening is that they're going to bring her in, and it's all going to center around my Howard is actually going to be Stanley Tucci. He is going to play a daytime talk show host that has been on the air for a long time, kind of like
Caesar
Donahue.
Flickerman.
Yes, but is now, because ratings are lowering, you know, and you've got a lot more competition from celebrities and stuff, it's turned from, you know, Donahue into Jerry Springer. And like he's kind of at the end of his rope anyways and doesn't care and has a mental breakdown on set. And they actually, you know, because it's recorded previously, you know, you don't get to see it, except she takes it and makes a video of it on their social media platform because she thinks it's amazing. And then that starts this whole spiel, and it goes from there, and it goes on wild. So it's a combination of the social media pushing the actual network, and it changes how everything is happening. And then you've got Josh Brolin as the Ned Beatty character. He's in charge of all of this and lets it roll
Mhm.
because it's making money for everybody now until it doesn't. So I think that would end up making a really good movie. And I think Stanley Tucci as a daytime talk show host, like a Donahue, I mean, there's nothing the man can't do. So I thought that would be a really good role for him.
Well, also, you know, shades of Stanley and the Hunger Games.
Yes, Caesar
Oh, that's
Flickerman.
true.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
he's so good in that role.
Okay, well, I mean, you know, Hollywood, if you're looking for another movie remake, just,
I mean,
you know, come and
come
talk to us.
Always.
We're so good at this. We're so good at
We
this.
are so good at
We
this.
are. Why don't we just sit down and write a movie? I don't understand. Okay, well, next up, our listening audience, we have Skip, Rent, or Buys, the portion of the movie where we tell you what we thought and whether we think you should see it. So, a Skip, don't waste your time. Turn off that channel. Find another channel. Rent, you know, I mean, see what the news is on tonight. And then Buy, you should be watching this every single night. So let's
Okay,
flip
let's
it
not get
around.
crazy with the buy.
Once a month, maybe.
Okay, Allie, you go first.
I did not like this movie. Did not like it one bit. It bored me to tears. I know. I don't know if that's just because I'm so cynical. It was very shouty. It was like too many white men. I guess I don't love Faye Dunaway. I mean, I recognize her as an actress, but I don't know. She doesn't really do very much for me. And I understand the tenor of the movie and I get that, but I think it's been done in better ways, in a more dystopian way, in a more science fictiony way, that it with other properties. And so none of it, not even the like, shooting at the end, none of it surprised me or really was anything new to me. So I'm a solid skip on this one. I'm glad that we had this great discussion about it, but yeah, I knew it from the jump that it was probably not going to be something that I liked.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Eric?
I'm kind of wondering if we're going to be a solid three of a kind on this one, because I'm pretty squarely in a Rent. I would have been a Rent with a buy rising before. I think I'm kind of where Matt coined a new phrase for us a couple episodes back, which is kind of a must rent. I think that if you're interested in how the media shapes our reality, which is a really important topic, I would say, yeah, sit down and watch this thing from 50 years ago where, you know, they predicted a lot of stuff that we are dealing with today. Um, but I think that I don't think it's a perfect movie. I think that, again, to me, Paddy needed to decide whether he was making a satire dystopian, you know, Dr. Strangelove-esque cartoon about the whole thing,
Mm-hmm.
or whether he was doing something a little bit more real and a little bit more grounded, a little bit more emotional. I would have preferred the former as opposed to the latter, because he really goes there, and that Ned Beatty speech, great. The fact that Diana Christensen can only orgasm when she's talking about market share, hilarious. So there was some really great moments, and again, I think it has something really important to say. So I'm squarely right in the middle of that Rent category.
I went back and bought this movie. As I was watching this movie, I don't think I've seen a film that so accurately depicts and expresses my feelings about modern media, modern news, and even capitalism in a lot of respects. I really connected with this movie in a very, very strange way. That being said, I think you're right. There are issues with the movie, but I do think this is a must rent. I think this is a must rent because it is very eye opening. If you haven't really thought about it, and to see somebody discuss these topics from 1976 so accurately, I feel like people should watch this movie. I don't know, let winemaking kids in school watch this movie. Like, this is when they put the film on because they don't want to actually teach class. Like, make them watch this instead. You know,
Or at least, I mean, I think you should have watched this as a broadcast journalism major, Allie. I mean, I think this would have been a good one.
I'm shocked that we
one to
didn't,
open us
honestly.
to discuss. Yeah.
yeah. This did change me, so I think it's a must rent. Although I did go back and buy it. I see
Call it a
myself
buy.
watching
Call it a
it
buy.
multiple times.
Don't whip out. Don't whip out,
Okay,
Matt. Call
it is a
buy.
buy. You have to see this movie. You really should see this movie.
Fair enough.
I think that's the first one this season that we've done that. One of
I
all
love it.
three,
I
isn't
love
it?
a three of a kind. I love it. I think that's why we have. I think why the three of us are so good at we complete each other in a lot of ways. And when we're a triple buy, that means that movie is really fucking good because we are three very different audience members.
Yeah.
Clearly, as
Very,
we've just
very true.
demonstrated.
I think only one of us here has tickets to see He-Man. So
I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for spending some time with us. We are going to take a short mid-season break. So we will be returning in November with The Last Picture Show from 1971. Another movie I have not seen, but I have always heard about.
I'm very excited.
Cloris Leachman, brilliant. So good.
It's a stacked
so
cast.
Good. Oh, the cast is stacked, but Cloris lives in my brain from that movie. So good.
I'm excited to see her in this movie. Well, thanks again. This has been the Rewind Project. I'm Matt.
I'm Eric.
I'm Allie.
Be kind. Rewind.
You've been listening to The Rewind Project. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, and Google Play. Please subscribe and rate us. It helps a lot. We love your comments and questions. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and via our new phone number at 202-618-2402. Thanks for listening. Be kind. Rewind.
Directed by Sidney Lumet. Actually, I probably pronounced that wrong. Probably Sidney Lumet.
No, I think it's Lumet.
I think it's Lumet.
Yeah. It's like Detroit. You think it's Detroit, but no, it's actually just Detroit.